Hey everybody, this is David Osario with Nicole Christensen and Zach Suspan. And this is kind of the first of a little series we're doing. I'm calling it Inside the Affiliate, where basically we take a particular topic of interest to the affiliate owner, and we really dig into the nuts and bolts of how that's done. So one of the beauties of affiliation is that there's no one right way to do things. There's a lot of correct ways. There's certainly a lot of incorrect ways to do things. Many of us have been around for a while and made plenty of mistakes and learned from those mistakes. So today's goal is to talk about onboarding, basically how you take someone who is brand new to never done CrossFit and how you get them into your group classes. We're going to hear from myself, Nicole, and Zach about basically that journey for each person. Along the way, we're going to try to talk about logistics, policies, programming, payout, like really get into the nuts and bolts of how that works at their gym, lessons they've learned, maybe mistakes they made in the past as they go through. And we'll just kind of keep things cool and conversational. We'll also try to sneak in, if we can, time-wise, talk about transfer athletes, what that process is as somebody comes in who has CrossFit experience, what your barriers are, what you do to work with those folks. All right. So real quick, I'm going to introduce myself, and then I'll go to Nicole and Zach. So I own CrossFit South Brooklyn. My gym, we are in our 15th year. We celebrate 15 years in September. And yeah, we're here in Brooklyn, New York. We're a pretty large gym. I'm also the field leader for New York and New Jersey for CrossFit. So I work with the affiliates in this region quite a bit, as well as I'm also very involved in the CrossFit Roundtables program. So again, talking to a lot of affiliates about struggles, trials, tribulations, challenges, and stuff that they have in that process. So definitely heard from a lot of affiliates, and I'm excited to highlight some of y'all for the greater good of the affiliate community. Let's jump to Nicole.
Hi, everybody. My name is Nicole Christensen. I own CrossFit Roots in Boulder, Colorado. We are in our 13th year. We just turned 13 actually a couple weeks ago. So yes, we've been open since 2009. I have worked for CrossFit seminar staff since 2010, and I currently help out or work for EDU at CrossFit, specifically in the content team, doing things for coaches and coach development.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you, Nicole. Yeah. And Zach.
Yeah, what's up, guys? Zach Zuspan. I have two affiliates in the Oklahoma City area, CrossFit Complete and CrossFit Complete West. The original CrossFit Complete is coming up on 13 years, and West just recently turned 7. I'm also the field leader for Oklahoma, Arkansas, Kansas, and Missouri, which is district number 6.
Nice. Welcome, Zach. It's Zuspan. I said Zuspan. I've been saying your name wrong.
Yeah. Think like dustpan with a Z. Zuspan.
Got it. Yeah. And if you notice a particular glow about Zach, he just stepped out of the ocean, majestically emerged from the ocean for this interview.
Literally hopped out of the ocean and came in here. No, yeah. I'm serious.
All right, cool. So let's start with Nicole. So basically, yeah, so let's kind of look at the big picture. A new member, walks into your gym. Hey, I've never done this stuff before. I'm interested. What is their journey from that conversation to being a full-fledged member in class?
Yeah. So whether they come in through the doors or they go on the website, we start everybody with a one-on-one intro, and that's 30 minutes. They come in, we start with simple, just how can we help? Learn a little bit about them. We talk about CrossFit, the methodology, and then we talk about coaching, community, and class structure at Roots. And that's all done whiteboard style, write up some notes, have a discussion on boxes. Pretty authentic to how it's going to roll once they actually join the affiliate, in terms of just sort of, we sit on some boxes and we have a chat. After they do that one-on-one, then if they're ready to start and they want to start, then everybody starts with a foundations course. So the foundations course is 4 private training sessions, one-on-one. They're an hour long, and alongside 2 weeks of group class. And so we intersperse those 2 things together. So they'll generally do 2 private training sessions, and then as part of that schedule, they're scheduled to do a group class generally at the same time. So it's like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, they might do 2 privates at 9:30 Monday, Wednesday, and then they'll go to 9:30 group class on Friday. They're assigned to one trainer. Sometimes the trainer can't get in all 4 sessions, And so they might ask another trainer to help them out, but generally they're working one-on-one with somebody throughout those 4 sessions. If they can go to that coach's class as part of building out their 2-week schedule, we'll make that happen. But if not, they can go to any class or with any coach. And the expectation is that they're done with that foundations course in 2 weeks. So when we first sign them up, we do try and lay out a consistent schedule for them and gets them into the gym 6 to 8 times between private training and group class in those 2 weeks. And that schedule is, we do our best to make that a schedule that works for them. So if they're like, I can only come at 5:30 in the morning, well, we know they're going to be 5:30 group class people. So we do work with their schedule. And so those are all scheduled one-on-one.
Cool. Okay, great. Thank you. All right, so let's go.
Yeah.
I've already got a lot of questions. I'm sure Zach does too.
Okay.
Exactly. Working along in his head too, as I am. All right, so real quick, the first one,
Okay.
30-minute session, is that a paid session? Is that part of the process? That's, hey, I'm just curious, teach me more before I put down money? Or that's, okay, I put down money, now we can sit down and talk?
Yeah, so that's before they put down money. So that's basically just like, I'm interested. There's no charge for it. There's no working out. So it is a one-on-one consult, if you will. And then after that, or in that process, we talk to them about how we start everybody with the foundation. So pretty much if you are interested in starting CrossFit at Roots, you do that one-on-one session. If you're coming from another affiliate, which I know we're going to talk about later, and they don't, want to do the one-on-one, or they're like, I know what CrossFit is, we do have a different pathway for them. But if you're new to CrossFit, that's how you start. Occasionally someone's like, yeah, I don't need the one-on-one, like I want to do foundations, and that's fine. But most people, that's like the process that they go through.
Now, how do you schedule those with your staff? Is it a dedicated time that person has to come to? Do you have to find a coach? Do you pay that coach for that time? Is there a commission on if they sign up? How does that all work?
Yeah, so so we use a calendar scheduler. We used to use Acuity. Now we're using UpLaunch, and they have it that's built in and part of what you pay for. So we have 2 coaches that do the majority of those one-on-ones, and they basically just put them up consistent times that work for them each week. So there's basically 4 30-minute sessions that are there on the calendar that you can choose from. We just added, everything, you have these aha moments, right? Where you're like, why haven't we been doing that forever? But like on Sundays, so one coach is responsible for the weekend, on a rotating basis. So it's like, every coach works the weekend once every 10 weeks, let's say. And from 10:30 to 12:30 is open gym, and they have some responsibilities. They clean the gym and stuff. We're like, well, that's easy time for one-on-one. So now they're all there's always a scheduled one-on-one available at 10:30 on Sundays. The coaches get paid for it based off of like their hourly coaching rate. And then if they're doing it on that Sunday, we have a foundations manager. And so he does the majority of the ones during the week, or our general manager does. And so they're paid for those. So the foundations course is $299. And that's 4 private training sessions, one-on-one, and 2 weeks of group classes included in that. So of that, $50 goes to the foundations manager. So that's kind of like his commission, if you will, for managing the scheduling, making sure, I's are dotted and T's crossed and all those things. The trainer is paid $50 a session. So that's 200 of that goes to the trainer that does the foundations course, and then 49 goes to the gym.
Got it.
So those one-on-one sessions, it's either the foundations manager or our general manager who's salaried and things like that. So that's how those are paid.
So that's almost like, to a degree, kind of like how we do almost personal training, where it's like, this is a significant financial benefit, I would say, primarily to the coach and coaches running the program. And then with the idea being that this becomes an active member, and they're paying obviously their membership dues and, become a full-fledged member at the gym. So there's sort of like a financial incentive built in for your coaches to want to do those and do well with them.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And we do rotate them. So we have a couple people that are more eager for doing foundations. And so they'll generally do they'll take the bulk of them. But on occasion, the foundations manager will say, hey, this one's for you. This one's for you. And so we spread them out a little bit, in
Got
that
it.
sense.
Yeah. I want to move on to the foundations actual and then the classes, but Zach, do you have any questions on
Sure.
that first intro portion or anything that maybe I missed?
I think the only question I have you always done, Nicole, where you do the one-on-one integrated with the normal classes? Was that done differently in the past, or is that how it's always been?
Yeah, no, that was a product of failure and stress. So,
As
we
most
used
things
to
are.
do,
Yeah,
right.
Well, it's
So,
motivation.
We used to do 6 private foundations sessions, which was too many, and we can talk about that later, but that was too many. And then it was a lot of pressure for the coach though at that time to get in all like 6 private training sessions, like slammed on you is a lot. And what we found is if you could build out their schedule, if they're like, I can come at 9:30, it's great. Okay, well, 2 private training sessions in a week, that's easy to fit in your schedule. And then if you can have them come to a class, well, it alleviates the stress of the coach to be like, oh my God, there's so many of these going on. It also gets them involved in going to class so that when they come back to that private training session, they can ask questions and they feel a little bit more like, we used to have it where it'd be like, okay, that was your last one. You're going to do great. And they're like, you want me to go to class now? So it helped bridge the gap there. But we have
Yeah.
not always done that. We started that in 2019, like just before the pandemic, I would say.
Got it.
Yeah.
I love that. That's I think one of the biggest challenges is integrating into the community as well, not just the movement aspect of it. And if you can like pinch little by little, that's probably a great idea. We have something similar. It's a little bit different, but I'll explain that when it's my turn.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Yeah. And the neat part about it is you can really, like, if the coach does it, the way we think about it, you work with them to make their schedule and you're like, great, you're going to do this exact schedule for the next 2 weeks, right? You're going to do these
Right.
private training sessions and you're going to do this class. And then it's just on their calendar. They're not thinking like, I got to sign up for class. It's
Right.
not, we don't put it on them. It's like, you're expected to be here. So there's a nice, they're starting the process of consistency.
Great. So it's a great segue actually, because I want to talk first about what happens in those 4 classes, how that's
Okay.
structured, how that's maybe tailored for the individual, depending on who walks in, the template, etc. And then I want to talk about some of the logistics of them being in the class, maybe after only their first private training session, and then their transition, like how they financially, etc., transition to the group class. What's their next steps? So tell me what happens in those 4 classes. Like, is they're an hour long? You said. You guys have a template, I imagine, or?
Yep. So we have a template. It's the foundations course. I'm happy to share it too after this if we do some resource thing or whatever. But
absolutely, yeah, I've got
basically,
stuff that I'm happy to share too.
Yeah. So basically, every new member or new one-on-one foundations gets their own sheet, and at the top of it is the list of all the movements that the coach is expected to cover with that athlete in those 4 sessions. So it's like, it's the 9 foundational movements. So air squat to overhead squat, press to push jerk, and deadlift to sumo deadlift high pull, and then med ball clean. And then we've got kipping pull up, box jumps, thrusters, ring dips, muscle ups, handstand push-ups, and then snatch and clean. So it says snatch or clean actually. Now, so that's the list at the top. Then there's like 4 blocks of areas for the coach to write in, and they actually design their own workout each session for that athlete. And so they are expected to be able to, they're checking off all those things, but they write their own program for those 4 sessions. Now, most coaches know that, they've come up with their own process for it, right? So like, I know for me, if I do it the first day, I'm going to do air squat, front squat, and overhead squat with PVC pipe. When it comes to the workout, we're going to do some version of the squat, probably the air squat. Maybe we'll do PVC pipe front squat. Maybe, like, I've got that kind of outlined of how I'm doing it. We call them like any asshole movements. Like, okay, we're going to throw in a ab mat sit up and running to round out that day's workout, and you have this protocol of how you're doing it. But the benefit of that we found is that it's a really good learning experience for our trainers. They start getting a taste of like how to program, what something actually takes. Like I would say most of them have their 4 workouts that they do, but then learning how that workout is going to work for a newbie. You know, okay, I saw them squat. Now I'm taking that information and I'm making some assumptions about how they're going to do in the workout. And then that doesn't work out. Well, they're learning a lot from that. So they do write their own workouts. But everyone has to learn those that whole list of movements. And then the only non-negotiable is that they have to do some form of kipping practice or kipping pull-up all 4 sessions. And that's because in my experience, one, if people go to class and can do kipping pull-up, whether it's bands or they're going to do a jumping kipping version or whatever it is, they have a way better experience in class. Just, I don't know, just that's our thing. And then 2, on the other flip side, trying to teach somebody a kipping movement in the middle of class if they don't have the basics down is just like a nightmare. So it was also sort of for the coaches. So it might be in warm up, like they might do some kip version or, you know, kip and push down or whatever, but there's a building block throughout those 4 sessions.
Got it. Do your okay, so yeah, so you've got basically a laundry list of things that need to be covered before that person
Mhm.
that's really onto the coach. Have you had
Yeah.
any issues with coaches being like, oh, I didn't get to all the things because we spent too much on this or not enough on this, or, you know, I kind of
Yeah.
I painted myself in a corner and, you know, they didn't get
Sure.
the best
And
experience or whatever.
yeah, and I would say in the beginning that happens a lot, right? With like a newer coach that's starting to do foundations, and then that's just like a learning experience, and it might be sitting down with them and helping them plan out their next foundations one-on-one 4 sessions that they do, so that they get a little bit ahead of the game next time. You know, occasionally I would say it only is like one every, I don't know, 50 times we do a foundations course. They just need more time. They need more than 4 sessions.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
that's okay. We'll have that discussion with them, because
Yeah.
it's really about just helping them be successful when they go to class. So a lot of times it's not like don't go to class, but it's like,
Right.
hey, you would really benefit from doing 2 more private sessions within the next month.
Got it. So, and then also, Zach, just always chime in whenever if you have something you want to question. But my question is about the group classes. So,
Yeah.
you know, I've come into your gym, I've done my first foundations, my any asshole foundations workout.
No, it's not any. It's the movements that you like sprinkle in with.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, I'll throw in an ab mat.
Yeah. Okay. And then so after that, like you said, ideally they're paired with that coach, so it's a familiar face, and that person's seen them move a little bit. It can be kind of a point of reference for them. I'm sure that doesn't always exactly work out, but you know, it should be okay otherwise. Have you had any issues around, like, you know, person comes in class 1 foundations, they're learning some fundamentals, they roll into like snatch day and they're like, whoa, like, I don't know what's going on, like, what is this movement? Or
Yeah.
have you found it to be not really a problem? Like, what are the pluses and minuses of that, you think?
Right. So, okay. So on the front side, so let's say someone's schedule gets built out for Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 9:30, and that coach doesn't coach Fridays at 9:30. We use Slack. So they'll put a note to that coach of that class in Slack and be like, hey, I'm starting a one-on-one foundations. They're going to come to your 9:30 class on Friday, just so you know. So then the coach has a little bit more, you know, awareness.
Mhm.
But I think and then on the bigger picture, it's not really an issue, because I mean, if it's snatch day, well, if they were in one-on-one, they're still going to start with PVC pipe. So we just give them PVC pipe, and they might do the whole thing with 15-pound barbell, and they would have done that in the one-on-one foundations anyways.
Mhm.
And you know, beginners look like beginners too, right? So the coach is maybe just making sure that they're hitting basic positions. And then when it comes to the workout, you know, if it's got, I don't know, if it's snatch day, they might do a hang power snatch, right? And we might change it to 3s for them instead of 1s if it was 1s. You know,
Got
so
it.
we might tweak it a little bit, but we definitely don't shy away from them doing the movement. We just give them PVC pipe or something
Just
lighter.
reduce some modifiers. Otherwise, yeah.
And then we really connect them with other people. Like I think that's probably the big benefit is, you know, everyone's been there, that person. I mean, I've been there. I remember the first day I went, I'm like, I'm going to snatch. This is easy. You're like, oh crap. Just pairing them up, you know, like if it's a lifting day and they're paired with somebody, and sure, you know, I don't care if they're taking 40, 50, 80 pounds off the bar every time they change out for the lift. Like they're talking to those people and they're generally saying something like, oh yeah, I started with PVC pipe. I started with an empty barbell. Like you'll be there, like low stress. So I think it's a nice community way to get them involved and see that
Yeah.
this is just the starting point.
Awesome. I want to transition to basically after foundations, but Zach, do you have any questions at this point? Anything that's jumping out at you that you'd like to know?
I don't think so. Everything sounds good so far.
Okay, cool. All right, so they've completed their 2 weeks. They've gone to, oh, actually, a quick question. How many class? You said they typically take, they have the 4 one-on-one training sessions, and they're doing so basically 2 PT, 2 group classes is the
A
typical.
week, yeah.
Does anyone like,
2.
I want to come all the time, or like you say, no, come
Oh
2?
yeah. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
and it's awesome. I mean, we're like,
Okay.
yeah, get in here.
Got
You
it. So
know?
if they want to come
Yeah.
5 days, whatever, it's nothing crazy, you know.
Yeah, 5 days, like,
Yeah.
sure, great. And some people do. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
Okay.
You know, and some people come to one class and then they ask if they can come to more classes. So that's cool.
All right.
So
So
can
go
I
ahead,
ask a
Zach.
quick
Yeah,
question?
please.
If they weren't prepared after going through that 2-week block, and you were to transition them into personal training, what would that
Mhm.
look like? You guys ever do that? Or like, do you add like a +1, a +2? Is there a stair step for in that something like that were to happen?
Yeah, I think yes. So definitely. I mean, and I think it's just kind of a natural conversation. So, you know, if somebody's like expressing being nervous about going to group class, or like, oh man, I really don't feel like I got the kipping pull up down, then we absolutely will, you know, say, well, hey, why don't we just get together for a half hour once every 2 weeks for the next 6 weeks, so that we can make sure you get ahead of the game there. So
That's
definitely
a paid
like,
out PT session.
yeah, absolutely, for sure. And we've definitely over the years, you know, gotten a lot better at the, you know, I think initially I would be a little bit nervous to ask that, you know, I think way back in the day it was like, oh, you know.
Mhm.
And now it's more like you just know that that person is going to get such a benefit and you want to help them, and you're like, hey, let's just hammer this out now. And so I feel like that's kind of bled through a lot of our coaches too, and they're good about just about offering that or having that conversation. I would say that rarely we don't, you know, if someone really is starting from a less, you know, overall fit perspective, if you will, or comfort level in class, we really don't say like just go toward the personal training route. We integrate the two, because I think there's so much value in them going to class and being with the person that kind of started in their same boat.
Mhm.
But sometimes people are like, hey, I love foundations, can I just do private training? And that's totally fine.
Yeah.
As well. You know, we have a lot of people that do that.
Cool. And then kind of last piece here before I transition to Zach, and then I'll give
Yeah.
you actually a chance if there's anything else you think we missed that you think is important. You know, not to go into a whole conversation about what your memberships are, but basically, like,
Yeah.
you said, it's $299 for the foundations program. Does that roll right into, are they like on auto pay from foundations onward month to month? Do they buy a separate membership? Is there an incentive for them to get started? What's that financially look like?
Yeah.
as they
So
transition?
basically when they purchase foundations, they're starting their membership. We just start it 2 weeks later. So and I can talk about why we do that. So yeah, so when you purchase the foundations course, we're also setting up your first payment for your membership. And that's $199 a month for unlimited. And that starts exactly your build on your first month of membership exactly 2 weeks after foundations, you
Got
know,
it.
from your first day of foundations. And the reason we do that is because at some point we just realized we had like 3 barriers to entry or 3 opportunities for people to say no. And it was like, why do we keep asking people if they want to like keep doing this? Like you're in, like, let's go, like, you know. And so it would be first they would do the intro, and then they had to say yes to foundations, and then they had to say yes to the membership. And now it's just like, no, you're starting. So it rolls right into membership.
Got it. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Is there anything that I missed or anything that you would add to any of that?
I think the only thing that alongside when they start foundations, we do a 60-day email nurture. I think that's the marketing phrase for it, but it's just 60 days of emails to support them as a member. So
that
it's
through
everything from like,
Push Press,
well,
or what is it called?
yeah, we do it up launch. We wrote
Up-launch.
it and put it all in. We used to have it in MailChimp, but then we had to put each email in individually, and it
Yeah.
was a pain.
So these are
But,
basically automated like touch points they get of like, hey, nutrition
Yeah.
information. Hey,
Exactly.
check out this video.
Etiquette.
Hey, this.
Yeah, we do a lot of old school stuff. Like, hey, here's Nasty Girls. Hey, here are the coach's favorite videos. Here's what turned them on to CrossFit. It's a lot of cultural stuff for the gym.
You said that's every day
yeah.
for 60 days?
No, it's
Okay.
every other day for like the first 3 weeks, and then it goes to every 3 or 4 days, and then it's about once a week for
Got
the
it.
last couple of weeks. Yeah.
I was like, that's an aggressive content schedule.
Yeah, it's aggressive. They're like, it would be aggressive. And we do try and keep them short emails too.
Yeah. Okay.
Have you had members give feedback on the dripping the emails? Have they been like, man, that was awesome, thanks for all the content?
No,
have you gotten any
rarely.
feedback on that? Rarely.
No, I'm always like, all right, I guess this is good, you know. I mean, most of the time they will comment on something about it. I just, it's kind of like you're covering all your bases in my mind.
Yeah.
You know, some people attach to CrossFit because of the movement. Some people attach because they got an email that really resonated with them. So we're just, I kind of consider it covering our bases.
Throwing a broad net out there and seeing what responses from people. Cool. Awesome. All right. Thank you, Nicole. All right, let's jump to Zach. So Zach, let's start from the top. Again, I'm new at your gym. What do I do? How do I get into those group classes?
So obviously the first thing we try to do is have a conversation with the potential member. I always like to talk to people myself, if possible. That's just something I've always enjoyed doing, to try and get a feel for obviously their fitness history, their goals, a little bit on their personality as well. The main route that people get started with our gym is we have a free intro class now every other Saturday. Traditionally, for the first almost 9 years, we did it every Saturday. We do it at 10:30. It's an hour long. It's usually a smaller group, anywhere from 1 to 3 or 4 people on most weekends. The biggest free intro class I've ever had is probably 9 or 10. So it's rarely individual, but it's rarely a big group that we're working in. The flow with that is people will come in, we'll sit down, we'll do waivers, and then we'll basically just get to know each other a little bit. I'll ask people what their goals are, how they heard about CrossFit, what brought them in the door, and we'll just kind of talk shop for a little while there. And then I'll dive into, pretty similar to Nicole, I'll have a whiteboard and we'll go over what is CrossFit, constantly varied functional movements performed at high intensity. I'll kind of give a little personal spin on the flavor that we serve at Complete. And then we'll go out from there and we'll do a short workout. So our free intro is a full hour. The workout is baseline, which is a little bit of rowing or biking, depending on the group that I have, and then all body weight stuff. So usually have to do a couple different options because it is common for me to have multiple fitness levels present at one free intro. So I may have like a fire breather that I know wants to really get after it, and I might have somebody that this is their first time stepping in a gym in years, which is a common obstacle with one of those sessions, but we've gotten pretty good at that over the years. After that workout, it's a 10-minute workout, 15 to 20 with the warm up. We'll go back in, we'll sit down, and that's when I'll serve them the logistics of how memberships are set up, how they can get started, and basically all the details of what membership entails. What I found from a sales perspective is that when you get them after that workout, when those endorphins are flying high, that it just works. It seems like people are way, way more apt to sign up right after that workout when they're feeling really accomplished. They've got a great sweat going versus, a lot of other gyms do like no sweat free intros or come in, check out the gym. That period after that workout has really been the sweet spot for us. And the sign up rate is really, really high. The reason we don't do, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that just briefly, I agree with that. We don't currently do a free intro class. I ran one on Sundays for well over a decade. And like same thing, like we made a really challenging but really accessible workout that whoever the hell you were, you could be like challenged and have a great time. People were stoked, and you'd see a line at
Yeah.
the front desk. Everyone wants to sign up. They're like, that was awesome. Give me more. I want to learn more about that. So
Yeah.
that was, I've had a
There is
similar experience.
something, there's something really nice too about people waking up the next day being sore.
Mm.
Like it's just a good, I mean, in a good way, right? Like they wake up, they're like, oh, I was sore from that. I haven't been that sore. There's something that resonates
Yeah.
the whole process.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah. So the free intro has been a kind of our bread and butter for bringing in new members. We moved to doing it every other week simply because we don't want a ton of new members all at once. We really want to take things slowly and be as thorough as possible with each new member. So over the course of a month, I really don't want to integrate more than 3 or 4 people. It's more about quality than quantity for us at this point in kind of the lifeline of our affiliates. So that's kind of why we moved to every other weekend. The only challenge with that, this is a positive and a negative. It's nice that it's on the schedule at that time every other week, and that's it. Like we don't have to schedule any other free intro classes. There are people that want to get in and they don't want to be patient and wait. And it just kind of depends on the person. If I feel like, hey, this is a really good potential member and I see a lot of promising aspects, then we'll make an exception and we'll make an appointment for them to come in. If I feel like they're serious about it, then we'll accommodate an appointment for them. And we used to do it every week, which when we were trying to grow a little bit more, we would do that free session every week instead of every other week, which is what we do now. So from that free session, the flow is pretty similar to what Nicole does. We call it on-ramp. It's a one-on-one. We will do, if somebody comes in with a family member or has like a good friend that they come in with, then we'll do that on-ramp together. The on-ramp for us is not a set number of days. What we have is a certain amount of material that we want to cover in terms of movement and integration to the gym. And it'll take somewhere between 3 to 5 days. So we don't set it at a certain number of days. We have the coach kind of make that call on how fast they need to move for that individual. And they work that in over the course of 3 to 5 days. In terms of what we cover, we try to cover all the normal movements that they see in class. We go a little bit beyond the 9 foundational movements, but I'm sure that our templates would look extremely similar. On our template, we also include check marks for things like making sure they're familiar with how to use the Pro Shop, making sure they're familiar with how to sign in for class, making sure they're familiar with how to clean the barbells, where to put their keys. It seems like silly stuff, but once we can take those little things out that may make somebody uncomfortable or they're not sure exactly what to do in every situation, it seems like it really helps them integrate and be more comfortable when they do start their classes.
For sure.
So,
yeah. Cooking in etiquette and like logistic stuff, like even if it's kind of like, and we do the same thing and it's like, I have down to a science of like, it's one sentence sometimes like, oh, this goes here, put the roller handles back into the window when you're done. Like small things that like, again, I think we take for granted how confusing and overwhelming it is to walk into a CrossFit affiliate and like not realize you're doing things wrong, that you're not, being ambiguous about, should I put this here? Do I put this away? Where do I go? Where do I put my stuff? Do I spot somebody? What do I spot? What am I allowed? Things like that. And just like etiquette, like it helps them be comfortable in the gym space because they have some frame of reference now. And it's so, I think, important for building culture in your gym for how members behave with each other. Like you have to like plant that seed early and then just keep watering it. All right, so keep going. I definitely have some questions already, Zach, but I don't want to cut you off there. Keep going and then I'll come back.
So free intro class, then into that 3 to 5 session on-ramp that works movement, practicing movement, plugging those movements into short practice workouts, drips in gym etiquette, and hopefully integrates them in as smoothly as possible. from there, what we do is when they start classes, this is somewhat new. We started an ambassador program. So instead of them just coming to class by themselves, we have a few well-established members from each particular class time that they're meeting that person at the class, and they're gonna kind of be their designated friend for the day and their designated helper for that day.
Huh.
And it's gone really well so far. The only thing that's a little bit of a challenge with it is, if that ambassador who does not work for the gym, it's not a paid trainer, it's somebody doing that out of the kindness of their heart. They love the gym, they love CrossFit, is if they're not going to be in that particular class that day, they're busy, whatever it might be, whenever it's supposed to be that person's first day, we'll try to get a coach to do it instead. But it's gone really well. The ambassador program is 2 to 3 classes with a designated person that's well established in that particular class time.
Got it. All right, cool. So I've got a lot of questions about that as well, but let me just take a step back. So you did the free intro. Now you've got these 3 to 5 potential sessions. How do I pay for that? If I don't, again, that might be 3 sessions, that might be 5 sessions. How is that paid out from me as the member? How is that paid out to the coach? And then if I understood correctly, it's basically almost similar to Nicole. You have kind of like, you need to hit these things, kind of figure it out. Coach figures out based on how that person moves and how quickly they pick things up. So let's start with the pricing. Like, how does that work price-wise with the variable volume of classes?
Yeah, it's our on-ramp is $199, and that doesn't include your first month of membership. So basically you're paying for the time with the trainer, and then you would start your membership directly after that time frame.
So it's $199 whether they do 3 classes or 5 classes.
That's correct.
And how do you communicate that to the person? Does anyone feel like, hey, I only did 3 classes and Bill did 5 classes. I want to do 5 private training classes. Like, has that been ever an issue for you all, or?
Not really. No, we kind of explain, hey, we have this material to cover. Some people move at a little faster rate than others, depending on your experience, the way your body moves, so on. And some people are, move through the material a little faster than others. Some people are really eager to get into the classes, so they prefer to move a little faster and get going anyways. Others prefer a little bit slower, more thorough approach. And so they may take it out to 5 classes. We haven't had an issue with the kind of sliding scale there.
And then how does that work out, pay out to the coach? Is that a group class rate? Is that a PT type thing? And then, that obviously, like if I'm teaching your classes, in theory, the gym or me, what I want is going to make less money if I do 5 and they're paying the same amount. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
How does that work out? Or is that just take it on the chin and it is what it is, get them in class?
I have 2 coaches that do all of our on-ramps. They're both full-time coaches, and it was basically just a conversation between the 3 of us. We just agreed, I'm going to pay them the full $199. They get all of that. And they're going to be thorough. They're going to make sure they take an individualized approach. If that person can get through in 3 and that's what's right for them, then that's what they'll do. But if that person obviously needs a 4th or a 5th, then they're going to be professional and do it the right way. So there's not that was just a conversation between myself and our 2 other coaches that coach those, and that's what we agreed upon. And there hasn't been any lashback on that because they've been with me for a long time. I don't know if that would work with a lot of staffs.
Yeah.
And if there's any ambiguity there, but it's worked with my staff because we're close knit, and it's just 2 coaches that complete those, so it's not a big deal.
Because I could see that, like, that's either being paid, if I'm getting 100% of that $199, I as a coach am incentivized to do 3 classes and get paid out $66 versus doing 5 classes and getting paid out $39. So I think I hope those coaches aren't watching this point. They might be like, hey, wait a second. But no, I think that, like you said, it comes down to the culture of your gym, your staff, and just doing right by, like, this is the program, where that might not work somewhere else, or there might be a more specific protocol around that. Nicole, do you have any questions around this? It's okay. if you
No, I mean, I guess it seems like there's almost like a stopgap for that too, though. I mean, hypothetically, like if they're going into group class, they've gotten the coach's stamp of approval,
don't. Mhm.
right? So like if 3 was enough, then you're getting that type of person into class. And if it wasn't, I feel like do you guys have a checkpoint kind of there where do you ever like give each other like a hard time, like, oh, they weren't quite ready, or, does that, some of that happen?
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
There may have been a couple times along the way where I felt like, hey, they probably should have had a 4th class, and they sent them through, and there was a conversation there, and we just kind of talked it out, and they said, hey, here was the reasons why I felt like they were ready.
Yeah.
And we've gotten better at communicating with that stuff. So there may have been a couple instances there where but I'm a perfectionist in terms of movement. It's like I probably see and nitpick things that a lot of people don't. And I would probably spend 10 on-ramp classes with someone, like I think I overdo it with beginners at times.
Right.
So
Yeah.
My 2 coaches that do them, they're a really great mix of, they teach high quality movement and they're really good at it, but they also understand when people are ready to get going and like get their momentum moving within the community. So I really do trust them to do a great job and to understand when the right time is.
That's great.
Yeah, that's cool.
I used to in the old many years ago, this is over a decade ago at this point, well over a decade, our foundations was 12 classes long. And and I say that people would leave with their level 2 equivalent. I was like, they could basically coach if they wanted to at that point. There was so much
We did the same.
We covered everything, and they would just 12 from the fire hose they were drinking. They were dense classes too, and we repeated everything, and it was just like etiquette and history of CrossFit and everything. And we chill the fuck out on that. Just get in the class. Okay, and then just to clarify real quick, so that was correct that you basically have like a laundry list of kind of movements that they want to hit, or like basic criterion before that person comes into class. Is it a hard, like, these 10 movements need to be covered in their 3 to 5 sessions, or is it just sort of like, what's that kind of specific structure?
It's a hard list of movement, and then right below the movement there'll be several points performance. Next movement, several points performance, and we hand that to the participating athlete as well, so that they can have they can take that home.
That's
and they
neat.
can
Yeah. So you give them, that's cool.
So the coach has a laminated copy that they'll take with them to the on-ramp, just so they can kind of stay on task and check it off as they go. And then we give that to the athlete as well, just so, it's pretty common for someone to still come to the class and we say it's time to do a clean, and then they snatch the bar over their head, or it's time to do a snatch, and they, I think it helps a little bit to see it in writing and to review that. I think that helps them to put it into their memory bank a little bit.
Got it. And then you said that, so transitioning into group class, you mentioned the ambassador program. You said 199 covers their foundations, and then after that, they make a decision on, I don't know if you have one membership or tiered. Again, not to go into details of all your different levels, but basically they make a decision like, yeah, I'm into this and I want to keep going, or is it auto pay type thing?
Once they've made the decision to start the on-ramp, they're already officially a member. They've already committed to a membership at that time.
Got it.
So
after foundations, it just sort of like starts there. You have one membership or tiered?
Yeah.
Like, do they tell you, hey, I want to do that 3 times a week, or I want to do, you just have one membership?
We just have a unlimited membership as well.
Got it. Okay, cool. And then that ambassador program, is that something that you use the same people for all the time? People opt into that? I say, like, in kind of a nutshell, like, what are the benefits and problems? I know you mentioned a little bit about the issues of, like, obviously that person doesn't work for you, so if they want to go have dinner with their family that night, not show up, say, nuts to use that. I gotta, but how long have you been doing that? why did you start doing that? And yeah, just any other insights that you might want to share about that program.
Yeah, so it's probably about a year in, and we found the biggest obstacle. People would come in prepared movement wise. That portion of the on ramp was great. The biggest thing we felt like was just getting them connected with the community, where they'd have people to look forward to seeing, people they were connected with, and just those relationships forming was the most difficult aspect. And that's what keeps people coming back for the most part, is that community aspect. We were just trying to accelerate that and make that happen as quickly as possible. So we felt like that was the most important piece in keeping people around and making sure that they got, latched in and that they were really sticky. So that was kind of the heart of implementing the ambassador program. Was we chose a couple people from each class group that we knew loved the gym, that loved CrossFit. They were, extremely outgoing, and they could help those people get integrated into the class, where they would introduce them to other people. They would help them with any particular aspect of the workout. And they would just kind of help that community aspect evolve a little bit faster than if they were to just show up right out of on-ramp on their own and possibly be, kind of on an island in the first couple classes.
Got it. About how many people we lost Nicole? Hopefully she'll jump back, because she was like frozen on my screen. I don't know if she was on yours too. Hopefully
No.
she'll jump back in. How many members do you have kind of involved with that, would you say, total?
We have basically two from each class time. So we have 18 to 20 ambassadors.
18 to 20. Oh, wow. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And
there's no
Go ahead.
payment for that. It's
right.
We went back and forth on that a little bit, and really they're happy to do it. They like to see the gym succeed. They like to see the gym grow. We didn't pick anybody that was that I'd consider like an introvert, or that I would consider there to just train and get it over with. They might have great work ethic, they love the gym, but we tried to pick people that it was clear they got energy from giving energy to others. Like that's something they thrived incorporating with on a daily basis. Like that's their thing. They love to welcome new people. They love to put their energy into others. Those are the type of people that we try to choose for the ambassador program.
Got it. I think something like that, I agree with you that it's you don't want to make the carrot like a financial incentive. Like you just do it for the right reasons, and people are going to want to do it, and people want to feel that sense of value and ownership of the gym too, and they want to be stewards of the gym, and like they'll do it for the right reasons, in a more authentic and genuine way for free than they would if like, oh, I get a free shirt every time I do this, or I get a free class or whatever. Like then it's kind of like gaming the system. All right, cool. So is there anything else that you think we missed about your foundations, or that you would add, or your on-ramp that you would add, or anything that we
did group for, I don't know, the first few years, and it sounded a lot like yours, how we had like a month of classes and they were super in depth and in detail. Once we went to individual, we never went back. One of the questions on here were the mistakes that we made. Individual has always worked better for us in terms of the onboarding process.
Yeah.
Cool.
I can't think of anything else.
Great. Thanks, Zach, and welcome back, Nicole.
Sorry, I dropped off there. My internet got weird.
I was like, while Zach was talking, we were like frozen like in a weird position for a while.
I know.
It was like,
sorry.
Hope we didn't lose her. All right, cool. All right, so I'll transition to mine, and then we'll begin to wrap it up a little bit here. So mine's definitely different from I think y'all's. We have the option of one-on-one foundations program, which is 3 classes. We have a kind of a loose template, but it's a little bit more on the coach's hands how they want to structure that depending on who comes in. And they'll, email correspond with that person, like, hey, what's your experience? What have you done before? And then they'll kind of work it out. And similar, like here's like the template that you can use, but you can stray from it, etc. But that's a very small minority of people that we have do that program, do the one-on-one. The vast majority, and we've done iterations of this the entire 15 years we've been around, but we do a group foundation cycle. And the current iteration, which is my favorite in the last, that we've ever had, it's 4 90-minute classes, and it's done in 1 week. So it's Monday,
Huh.
Wednesday, Thursday from 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. and then Sunday from 11:30 to 1 p.m. And it's capped at 3 people. Right now, I teach them all, and that's important to me because I want to meet every single new member. That's something that I used to do and got away from. In the past, we would do similar thing, but we'd have like a morning one, an afternoon one, and an evening one with the thoughts that we're feeding people into those class times, into the group classes to keep it balanced. But what I found is, even though like with this later one, this 6:30 p.m., most people can make it work for their schedule, even if they're normally a morning person. So we kind of didn't realize
Yeah.
we were solving a problem that wasn't really a problem. Like people can rally even if they're not a night person for 1 week. So it's 4 90-minute classes. It's capped at 3 people. There's a lot of it's definitely a templated program. There's a lot of redundancy in the program. So like in terms of we do, well, before I talk about the redundancy, like we make sure to cover. Basically, I want it to feel like a group class. So my thought is that this should feel like the group class experience in a 3-person environment. So the group class is not a foreign, scary thing to them. They've already got
Right.
this sense of they're working with people. I also really like I think the benefit of a group program is they know somebody else coming into the gym. They just spent a week with somebody else who's now signing up. So they've already got kind of a buddy. And I regularly have people saying, what classes are you going to go to? Like on that last class, they're already talking about, hey, when are you going to go? Sunday is cool. Let's go Sunday together. And people like talk about their fellow foundations graduates, and they kind of like, it's a way for them to already transition knowing somebody in the gym and then knowing myself. We charge $225 for those 4 classes. Like I said, they're 90 minutes long. And I find 90 minutes is a nice buffer where I can really get into the weeds of things. We can do progressions. So typically we'll have like a low skill warm up where it's like, class 1, for example, it's air squats, push-ups, ring rows. I go over the movements and they do 3 rounds at their own pace. Then we have a skill. Class 1 skill is single unders, alternating 2 steps, and then double unders, just going through the progression on the jump rope. And then we always have a strength portion, which is certainly, very, very submaximal, but we go through like proper bracing, how to warm up through a strength segment. So basically it works like a strength segment in a group class, right? Hey, we're going to put 20 minutes on the clock and we're going to go through this stuff. And I'm basically just coaching them through it. I take them through a full progression, but they leave with numbers. So I want them all to have some general
nice.
numbers that they can walk into a class and be like, oh, I deadlifted, 75 pounds for 5 reps. I have some frame of reference, and I talk about, hey, it might be 10 reps, it might be 3 reps, it might be 1 rep. That's okay. You're still going to have to go through this kind of learning process as you go through in classes, but at least you have some anchor point for what a weight is and which bar you use and how to set it up and stuff. And then we do a little Metcon at the end. And with the Metcons, like class 1 is a 4-time, class 2 is an AMRAP, class 3 is an EMOM, and then class 4 is a 4-quality, like assistance work. So they're exposed to all the formats they would see in a group class. So for me, it's important to take the group class environment, which they're going to be in anyway, and just make a microcosm of that, where they already have this like little mini community with the other 2 people in their group. They've gone through the format, and it looks and smells and feels really similar to what they do. We cover. I'll just do this actually, since I'm the host. I'll just briefly share the screen because I think that might be easier to just show y'all. So this is our foundation syllabus, and they all get this. So kind of like Zach, they get an email before the class with like, this is how it's going to work. These are our policies. If you miss a class, there's a makeup session. What happens after foundations, good training habits. So they get this as their little like a virtual toolkit that we refer back to. And then each class, there's got videos. So if they want to sneak ahead and like, oh, what are we doing today? And a lot of people will do that. They'll watch the videos beforehand. So they have some frame around. Not everybody does, but a lot of people do like to know what they're getting themselves into. And I've had so many people, I think I'm sure Zach has some, like I had a lot of people tell me that they were really scared, and then they got the syllabus and they're like, okay, cool. I'm someone who's very type A, and I want to know what's happening. I don't want to go in blind. And I felt very comforted there was a clear plan that I was getting into.
Right.
So yeah, you can see, like I talked about that first class, and then class 2 kind of mirrors it. You know, we warm up, we talk about rowing technique. Our skill is hang power clean. For the hang power clean in the front squat, I do that twice. So class 4, there's a lot of redundancy built into the program, because I want to give them 2 exposures to the Olympic lifts and deadlifting and basic hinging before they're in group class. So the first time it's like new material. This is empty barbell. Maybe we'll put a pair of technique plates on there at most. And then in class 4, they can actually load it up and do it again. So then we have our strength segment, back squat, and then a little AMRAP of kettlebell swings, sit-ups, box jumps. So stuff that, like, you know, we'll focus on the kettlebell swings, sit-ups, box jumps, you can teach, you know, relatively quickly. Class 3, we do talk about chin-ups, banded. If I have someone who's like clearly strong enough to do kipping stuff, then I'll work in some kipping. Otherwise, I'll talk about, you know, band variations, self-assisted ring rows, which we covered in class 1. We go over press, push jerk. That's just empty barbell. And then our strength piece is the bench press. And we go over like spotting, handoffs, etiquette, you know, really, because they're going to be working with their partners. So that's a really big thing. Like we talked about etiquette and how to be in the gym. We try to work that into like a lot of this stuff, you know, where to stand, you know, don't stand in front of somebody if they're squatting. This is how you put the rowers away. This is how you side your jump rope. This is how you do all this stuff. And then we do a little EMOM. So this is their second exposure to rowing. And then class 4, you know, we have basically this like 4 quality extended warm up where they go back to 1 minute. They can do single lunges. It's 1 minute of practice. Wall ball is the new movement, right, that they'll learn. And then it's ring rows or chin ups, depending on where that person's at. And a lot of this is more independent. It's like you have to set up, if you want to do banded, you have to set it up on your own. You know, I'm going to help them if they have questions, but like, you know, class 1, I'm kind of helping them in more and talking them through it. Or with their push-ups, if they do elevated push-ups, like you can set up a bar and a rack for your elevated push-up. I want to see you do those things. So it's a little bit more hands-off. You know, grab the kettlebell that you think that you can do this time. You know, I'm not going to, the hand holding comes off and I get to see how they kind of behave a little bit more autonomously, and then just begin to kind of tighten the screws there. And then for the skill, we do hang power snatch plus overhead squat. So we start with PVC and then we just do some barbell drills. And then after that, we do deadlift, mid hang power clean, and push press. So this is their second exposure to deadlifting, to mid hang power clean, and to push press. So that's like their final exam. Like, can you pick up a barbell and put it overhead? And now we're going to add a little bit of load and begin to pressure test that. So I really like that built-in redundancy. So a lot of times people feel like, okay, cool, I've done this thing twice and once light, now I've got a little bit of weight on it. So I feel when I come to the group class, it's a little bit of a refresher for me. And then, yeah, we have a makeup policy. So basically, if you miss a class, it's a $75 makeup session. Depends on the mover. Sometimes I have really good movers who I'm just like, in class 4, we're going to hit some of this stuff. You're picking things up really well. You're fine. Some people, like, you know, you should really use a second session, and that's a good opportunity to work with them. And that's much lower than our normal PT. Our normal PT is 165 for a session. And then, yeah, they have like what happens after foundations, how to RSVP, just some basic stuff, different programs we have. It's there. You know, I don't know if they all read it or not, but it's there for them.
Yeah.
So they have that access to that, which I think is really helpful. And then the last class, we ended a little bit early. And then I sit them down. I pull up the website. I'm like, here's where the workouts are. This is, you know, if you need to find the workout demos, this is beyond the whiteboard. And I show them like, here's the app. All the workouts are going to be in here. This is how you would track your stuff.
Right.
You know, and I go through the different memberships, and then I try to be prescriptive of like, hey, like, I really think 3 times a week is a great place to start, you know, depending on the person and what else they're doing. So I'll try to be as hands-on as I can, giving them a prescriptive, this is what I think you should do. We do because they do have that option to not sign up after foundations, which not everybody does. Our incentive is a 20% discount if you sign up on that Sunday. So in that last class, if you sign up today, your first month, you get 20% off. And we found that really increased people just signing up there and then, because we have tiered memberships. So it was harder for us to just transition into like, all right, now you have a membership, because they have to decide, do I want unlimited 5 times a week, a punch card, whatever the case might be. And then I have a big list of them and I follow up with them myself. So I follow up a week out, usually 3 weeks out and then a month out, and then periodically just to see, hey, how's it going? How are things going at the gym? Do you have any questions? Just a friendly reminder that I'm there and I'm available for them. I spit out a lot just there. So
That was great.
do you have any questions? We'll put it to y'all.
Well, so how do you, because I agree, like I love what you said about the foundations course. They get their mini group. Like we used to do foundations courses, but we found that we weren't getting people to sign up for them. How do you guys advertise those or market them? And is it sounds like they're always at the same time each week.
Correct. Yeah.
Right.
So that makes it
Okay.
easy for scheduling wise. I don't have to like mess around
Yeah.
on my schedule and find times and coordinate with this athlete. Because that's always been my fear of, and I know that some of y'all do this, you like Nicole, you were saying with the set times for the one-on-ones, like,
Right.
you know, for us, that's always been one of my reservations of
Yeah.
having that format. Because then I got to like, oh, you can't make 3 o'clock because you got a thing. All right, well, I can't do 3:30 because I teach the 4 o'clock class.
Totally.
And that's going to be a little bit tight for me. So it's we basically just have it. I'll show you. I'll screen share again because we don't advertise. And like Zach, we used to have a free intro class that was super popular, and I really loved doing it.
Yeah, we did too.
I don't even know where it is. Screen share. There we go. But I stopped doing it, even though I actually really love doing it. I stopped doing it because all our foundations sell out. So I'm like, well, I guess I really don't need to do this if they're all selling out. So we have this kind of like new to CrossFit, and then we have the different cycles here. So people just call, or they just go on the website and they just can register for it themselves, and they sign up. And you know, like I said, they literally all sell out. We cap them at 3, and to Zach's point, I intentionally decreased the funnel of people coming into the gym. We used to have a lot more. We used to have 3 active foundation cycles happening with capped at 6 people a morning, an afternoon, and an evening.
Totally.
And it's just too many new people. So I was like, no, I don't care for a smaller gym. I want smaller people. I want hands on everybody. I want to meet every single new member that's brand new. Some of the transfers I won't have that same connection with if they don't, you know, come to my classes.
The first time someone may come into your gym, maybe for that foundations class, like they've purchased it on the website, and the first time they've ever stepped foot in there, meeting
Correct.
you, that could be that particular day.
That's most people. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And, you know, I email them the day before, either 1 to 2 days before, you know, they get like their confirmation and everything else when they sign up. But hey, I introduce myself. I remind them of the times and days. I send them the foundations portal. Here's what we'll be doing. You know, you have my information if you have any questions. And yeah, we've never had any issues with that. So what I like about it is that it's really easy to schedule. Number one, I get to have 3 people. I triple versus a one-on-one. I triple how many members I can get in while still keeping it intimate. You know, I think any coach worth their salt should be able to coach 3 people at once, especially in a 90-minute class where you really have a lot of breathing room to talk about the progressions and scale people back. And, you know, you have somebody who, okay, like I had a guy recently with kind of a frozen shoulder. So, you know, I think with a bigger class, that would have been really tough, but with 3 people is easy. All right, you're going to do this push press variation. And then having worked with him for that many classes, he left the class with like a template of like, okay, so instead of snatch, you clean. Instead of dumbbell or barbell thrusters, you do single arm dumbbell thrusters instead of it. So he gets a whole checklist. And then I email the coaches if I have someone who's a little more troubled mover, who's still appropriate for group class, but maybe needs a little bit more hand holding. But most people after those, in my experience, those 4 classes are pretty good to go.
So how many times monthly does that cycle run, that foundation cycle?
Every single week.
Every single week.
Yeah, unless I don't feel like it. So if like I'm going on vacation, so I'm the only one who runs it right now. And again, that was an intentional decision by me as the owner. It wasn't like a strategic thing other than like I wanted to meet every member. So, and I'm free. Like, you know, it's like I pay myself a salary, but you know, I'm like, oh great, it's just full profit for the gym. Otherwise, we used to do time and a half for the group foundations, right? Cycles when other coaches used to teach them. Because it's a little bit more hands-on. It's definitely more intensive. Usually, I think the last ones were an hour and 15 minutes we would do. So it was just a little bit above class, right? Like you can make the argument, hey, it's a template class, so it's a little bit easier,
Right.
but you can also say, no, these are all beginners. So I have so much that I have to
Yeah.
cover and do and correct and see. And, so we had time and a half per class. And there was a bump if we got more. So if it was like 3 people or less, it was time and a half. And then 4, 5, 6, the payout would increase to the coach on those classes. And it was like, again, same thing, like the gym would still make money off them. We're still making a profit off the time. And they're going to be in the members afterwards. So that's the idea that we have.
Right.
There. Yeah.
That's intense, man, that you do that every week. That's impressive.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have a huge load, coaching load, beyond that. Like I don't work, my earliest class is 4:30 p.m. I don't do anything before 4:30. So if I teach, so it's not too big of a deal for me. And like I said, if I'm going on vacation, whatever, I just won't schedule it. And it's like, no big deal.
Right.
I'll just wait for the
Yeah.
next one. We used to do them as 2-week cycles or it would take 2 weeks. And the problem with that was that cycle 1 sells out, cycle 2 sells out, person wants to join your gym.
It's a
And they're
month.
like, I have to wait a month and a half before I'm ready now,
Yeah.
and like, a good problem to have in some sense, but it's a problem. So I just saw that, I was
Right.
like, let's just try a week. And I thought that would be maybe too intense for people to come in 4 days a week, 90 minutes. But because of how the class is structured, its pacing, how I modify it, I think I haven't had any problems. I haven't had any issues with people like being overwhelmed by it.
Yeah.
And then it also gives them like, hey, you've done this 4 days a week now. So 3 days a week for 1 hour, it doesn't really seem that bad, does it?
I like that.
So that's how we've done it. Like I said, I think it's 225 plus tax. At worst, that's like 235.
I like how it flows, like just looking at the written out, how it flows like a class. It feels like I'm coming into a class to warm
Yeah.
up, and then we're working a skill, working a strength. Whereas right now, our on-ramp, it doesn't flow really much. We're still going to warm up, but there's a lot of like small teaching chunks consistently over the course of that, hour to 75 minutes that wouldn't mimic an actual class.
Yeah.
So, I like the idea of doing it to some degree, like David and then Nicole, how you guys are kind of integrating class, then PT, class, PT. I think both of those are dripping the actual class structure in a more effective way than we are.
Yeah. I think my thought was like, what am I preparing them for? I'm preparing them for a group class. I'm not
Yeah.
preparing them for CrossFit at large, if that makes sense. I'm preparing for them for how to behave and what to expect in the group class and understanding how we use the wall timers for segments and
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. And we can layer on technique. Like, so we're doing the strength, we do the, I demo them, I talk about it, boom. And then like in each rest period, I'll add some more. All right, let's talk about midfoot balance. Let's talk about bracing again. Let's talk about where this bar needs to sit if you're not sure yet. Let's talk about different stances. Let's talk about breathing. And you're just kind of during the rest periods talking them through it and adding layers
Right.
piece by piece as that weight slowly goes up.
Right.
And all that stuff, like it's all codified in my head, exactly how I do those progressions for every, like I could do that foundations class, half asleep, and it's
Totally.
just,
Right.
I just do
Yeah.
it so often. I know exactly what to say every time. I have the same stupid jokes that continue to work. So I say them and, it's like an act. It's a routine.
Yep.
All right, cool. Awesome. So we're a little over on time. I want to do this rapid fire in 1 minute. Nicole, I've
Yes.
been doing CrossFit for 3 years. I'm a total badass. Or
Great.
let's even say even vaguer than that. I've done CrossFit before. I'm
Great.
not going to tell you how long or where or what. I want to
Great.
join your gym. What do I do?
You schedule a personal training session and then you can join our gym. And with that personal training session, you get 2 free classes.
2 free classes. Okay, cool. And that's for everybody, regardless. You've been doing CrossFit.
Yep.
5 years, 10
$100.
years.
Yeah, it's $100. Which is lower than our personal training session rate, but it's $100 for the personal training session and 2 free classes.
2 free classes. Nice. Zach?
I'll generally say, hey, come try out a class for free. And then, I'll give you the scoop on everything after. I still tell them about the free intro class. I try to push them into that just because it's the most thorough and professional approach from my perspective. But If they've got experience, they're itching to get started, then I'll say, hey, let's have you come try out this regular class, and then we can chat afterwards.
Cool. We do, we let folks, if you've done at least 3 months of experience at a CrossFit affiliate, you can just roll right into group classes. If it's like kind of iffy, like you've either it's been, hey, I did CrossFit before the pandemic, you know,
Yeah.
or like I want to get back into it, or I just finished this foundations program at such and such gym. And you're like, well, what did that entail? It was a half-hour, you know, class. We covered everything.
Right.
It's like, okay, so those folks, it's kind of case by case, and then typically we steer them into foundations, or we do 1 to 2 private training sessions just to see where they're at, where we'll talk to them about, hey, what do you feel comfortable with? And 9 times out of 10, they're like, I want to work on the Olympic lifts. You know, those are the things I feel a little bit kind of shaky on. So we'll kind of focus on that a little bit, just basically moving with the barbell. We also have what we call like test out. So as people come in, we reserve the right to pull back on their membership. So if they come in, like they say, oh, I'm great. It's happened a handful of times, but someone comes in, they clearly need some work. You know, we reserve the right to be like, hey, you know, for these reasons of safety, we're gonna pull you back and do a foundations, or you need to do some privates. And people are usually cool about it. They kind of get like, yeah, I don't know what the hell I'm doing here. You know,
Yeah.
like this is overwhelming. I thought I knew what I was doing because I did a few HIIT classes and told you it was CrossFit.
Exactly.
All right, cool. So I was like, we're gonna talk for 45 minutes, and it's over like 70 minutes later. So thank you so much for your time. I totally blew our timestamps. Maybe we'll chop this up. We'll see how it works. But thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Zach, for jumping in and being so candid about your onboarding program. Like I said, I want to do more of these and just really get under the hood of different programs. Any last words from y'all?
No, thanks for including us, David. This is awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much, David. We appreciate it.
Awesome. I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you I'll see you in the game soon, actually.
Yeah. All right.
All
Happy
right.
Friday.
I'll see y'all. Thank you.